Okay, good morning. Today's daf is sponsored by Michael Terniansky for Refuah Shleima for his brother-in-law, Aryeh Leib Shaya, Ben Esther Leah. Our Limud Torah this morning should be a schus for Refuah Shleima for him. Okay, we're picking up at the bottom of Samach Aleph on Beis. Today's daf is Samach Beis. So we say as follows. Amar Rav Nachman, the last three lines on the last three words on the Samach Aleph on Beis. Rav Nachman says, top of Samach Beis, Amar Aleph, Hayabaki bahenu b'shmoiseihem. So if someone was a baki in them and their names, what's this a reference to? So we said that the Peres and the Uzniah were the two out of the 24 birds that had a single sign of kashrus, a siman kashrus. So we're saying that if someone actually knows what a Peres and an Uzniah is, and not only, as it says, in them and their names. And the reason is because what we have to be concerned, Rashi says, Avon Shmo Peres Chashin and Shemen Minohu. So we didn't get into this yesterday, but each of the 24 is not just the actual, it's kind of like the Lamates Malachas. So you have a Av and a Toldo, you have categories. So the 24 are categories. So the concern is, if they call it a Peres, that if you know all the birds that are a Peres or Uzniah or are called that, because if they're called that, you have to be concerned that maybe this is in that species of a Peres or Uzniah. So therefore, if someone is an expert in knowing what does a Peres and an Uzniah look like, and what are the birds that are called that, provided he knows all of that, then of haba b'siman echad tahar. That if a bird comes in front of him, which has a single siman of tahara, so then it's kosher. Why? Because the only kind of bird that has a single sign of tahara is a Peres or Uzniah, and those are non-kosher. And he knows this is not a Peres or Uzniah or anything called a Peres or Uzniah, so then he can rely on himself that it's kosher. Lo hayabaki behenu b'shmoiseihem b'siman echad tameh. But if he would not be a baki in them and their names, then if you find one with a single siman, then you would have to say that it's non-kosher. And we're going to see in the Gemara that it was very uncommon that they had a Peres or Uzniah, but yet you have to be concerned because in other words, if it has one siman of tahara, you have to make sure it's not a Peres or Uzniah. Now, so if he was not a baki in them and their names, but and therefore he could not rely on one siman because it might be a Peres or Uzniah, but continues Rav Nachman b'shnei simanim tahar. But if it has two simanei tahara, so then it doesn't matter that he's not a baki in a Peres or Uzniah because the inquiry has now shifted from a Peres or Uzniah to an Orev, because an Orev was the one bird that we said had two simanei tahara. So continues Rav Nachman v'hu sheyakir Orev. So that presumes that he recognizes what an Orev looks like. So as long as, in other words, once you get to a category where you're dealing with two simanei tahara, so then what you have to make sure is that it's not an Orev. Once you make sure it's not an Orev, you know that it's a kosher bird because an Orev is the only of the 24 birds that has the two simanim of kashrus. Now, so ask the Gemara, Orev v'sulo. So in other words, is that true that when you have a bird with only two simanim of tahara, that you need to only know what an Orev looks like, and you don't need to know any other bird? But is that true? V'hatanya, we learned in a brisa, Orev ze Orev. So when the pasuk says Orev, it means an Orev itself. And if you remember, I said yesterday, there's actually only 20 birds mentioned by the Torah, and then there's 4 that have some variation of Mino, Lemineu, something like that. The Orev is one of those. So says the brisa. When it says Orev, it means an Orev. When it says Lemino, that comes to include something else. So Rabbi Eliezer says, Lahavi, and basically we're going to bring other things that are included in the min of an Orev. And so the Gemara's question is basically, you see that there are other things that are in a species or in the category of an Orev that they're limino. So then the question would be, don't you have to know those birds also? Because otherwise, if you have a bird with two simanei tara and you know what an orev looks like and it's not an orev, but maybe it's something that's related to an orev. That's the Gemara's question, but we're going to get into a brisa that's going to occupy us for a minute or a couple minutes. So, so we say, what is included by limino? Rabbi Eliezer says, lahavi is hazarzir. It comes to include this bird called a zarzir. So the Gemara asks, Amru lo l'Rabbi Eliezer. So the Chachamim said to Rabbi Eliezer, V'halo anshe kvar tamrta shebi Yehuda haya ochlin oso mipnei sheyesh lahen zefek. So the Gemara, they asked Rabbi Eliezer, they said, in this place, Kfar Tamrta, which is in Yehuda, that they would eat the zarzir. Why would they eat the zarzir? Because the zarzir had a zefek. A zefek is a crop, and we discussed, and basically what they're saying is that the orev is missing a crop. So what happened? That so therefore, Rabbi Eliezer was coming to include the zarzir as being in the category of an orev, and they were saying, wait a second, people used to actually eat the zarzir. Why did they eat the zarzir? Because it had a zefek, and an orev doesn't have a zefek. So why are you saying it's included in the category of an orev? It's not, because it's different than an orev, because it does not have it has a different siman tara than the orev itself has. So Amar Lahem. So Rabbi Eliezer was unimpressed with this proof. He said, Afhein asidin litein asadin. They're also going to have to answer for the fact that they ate this zarzir. They're not supposed to. So don't ask me from a maiso of people who are doing something wrong. So what was the machlokas that was going on there? The machlokas that was going on is that Rabbi Eliezer, the Chachamim held that if you have something that is has different simanei tara. In other words, if you're dealing with something with two simanei tara, you have to be worried that as an orev. Now, you might worry that you should say it should also be you're included in a min orev. The Chachamim held you can't include in a min orev something that has different two simanei tara than an orev. So since an orev is missing a zefek, and this zarzir had a zefek, it can't be that this is what's included by. This can't be what's included when it says limino. Now, mind you, as the whole basis of the Gemara's question is whether it's Rabbi Eliezer or whether it's the Chachamim. The Chachamim agree that there are things included in limino that are considered like an orev, which is why the Gemara's question is a question that shouldn't you have to know other birds, but they just disagree with Rabbi Eliezer that this is one of them. Continues davar acher. So actually, Rabbi Eliezer, we're going to see Rabbi Eliezer is also going to be quoted as including a different bird, and we're going to say that Rabbi Eliezer held that limino includes anything like it, so it could include multiple birds. So here's another one. Liminehu, lahavi snunis levana, is coming to include this snunis, this white snunis. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. This is the words of Rabbi Eliezer. So, Amrulo, the Chacham said to him, V'halo anshe galil ha'elyon olchen oso mipnei shekorkavano niklaf. So that the anshe galil, the galil elyon, the upper galil, they would eat this. Why would they eat it? Because its crop could be peeled. Now, on the face, this would seem to say that a orev, its korkavan cannot be peeled. Okay, but we're going to get back to that in a second because that would actually be problematic. But in any event, they said to Rabbi Eliezer that the Anshe Galil Elyon used to eat this thing because it ostensibly, because it's different than an orev, so which would be the model of the first one. So Amar Lahan, he said to them, Afhein asidim liten esadin. Again, don't bring me examples from people who are doing the wrong thing. They're not supposed to be doing it. This is in fact included in Liminehu, and therefore we have it. And therefore they shouldn't be eating it. Now, so again, just look at the structure. The first structure was they ate a zarzir because it has a zefek, implying that an orev doesn't have a zefek, right? Then the next one is saying they ate the snunis levana. They ate it because it had a peelable korkavan, implying that a orev doesn't have a peelable korkavan. But here's the problem. Because if you remember our Mishnah, and we didn't get into this so much yesterday, but the Mishnah, I alluded to it, but the Mishnah stated one absolute rule, said if an animal is a dores, then it's a non-kosher animal, right? So here's the problem, though. If we're implying from the Gemara the way we're thinking, so we're dealing with an animal that is a dores, right? And it does not have a peelable korkaban, and it does not have a zefek. So what are you left with? It only has one siman of tahara, which would be the extra toe, right? The etzbe yisera. But we know that an orev has two. So the question is, basically, this brisa seems to imply that an orev has only one siman of tahara. So the way the Rishonim explain, to understand this, so the way the Rishonim explain this is that basically when it says mipnei korkavanu niklaf, it's not that it's saying that it's different than an orev. And an orev, its korkavan cannot be peeled, because that would be a problem. Then you end up with only one siman of tahara. But rather, when it says mipnei korkavanu niklaf, it's unlike the zefek. The zefek, in fact, an orev does not have, and this the zarzir had. In this case, the snunis levana, when it says mipnei korkavanu niklaf, it's saying it's just like an orev. An orev has an added toe, and it has a korkavan that can be peeled. So those are two simanei tahara. So what was the point? That the Anshe Galil HaElyon, they said, since it's like an orev, right? So the only basis, meaning it has the same simanim as an orev. So the only basis I would have to say that it's non-kosher is to say that it's an orev, but it can't be an orev. Why? Because it's a snunis levana, it's white, versus an orev is black. And so therefore what they were saying is, if I'm going to say it's non-kosher, it's because it's an orev, because it has the same simanei tar as an orev, but an orev is black and this thing is white, so it's not that. To which to which Rabbi Eliezer is responding, and he's saying it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because color is not important. If it has the same simanei tara as an orev, it could be in the category of an orev, and therefore you're not allowed to eat it. But in any event, that's the brisa. So you see from this brisa that there are at least, Rabbi Eliezer is of the opinion that there are two birds that are included in limino. The Chachamim presumably had one or more different ones that are included in limino. So the question we're going back to is, we said that if you have if you have a bird in front of you that has two simanei tara, as long as you know what an orev looks like, and as a not an orev, you could say it's kosher. But hold on a second, maybe you need to check whether it's a snunis levana, or you need to check whether you need to know what a snunis levana looks like, you need to know what a zarzir looks like, or whatever it is that Chachamim hold, you need to know what it looks like. That's the Gemara's question. So the Gemara says, you're right. Continues the Gemara, El orev v'chol min orev. So when it said, if you have an animal, if you have a bird that has two simanei tara, you can say it's kosher as long as you know what an orev looks like, and this is not an orev. So as long as you know what an orev looks like, and whatever it is that is a min orev, you also have to know what that looks like. Okay. Amar Meimar says, Hilchasa of haba b'siman echad tahar. The halacha is that if you have an oaf that comes with a single siman of tahara, with a single siman, that it's tahar. V'hu dulo daris, as long as it doesn't, as long as it's not a daris, is that it doesn't claw, or whatever the different definitions we gave yesterday of a daris. So now, the difference between what's important here is that you see Rav Meimar is paskening the halacha that if you have an oaf that comes with one siman, it's tahar, whether you know or don't know whether you know or don't know what a paris and an aznia looks like. So basically, what we're going to say is, so let's actually take a look at Rashi, because this is a little more complicated than it looks. So Rashi, of haba b'siman echad tahar, v'afilu ein baki b'henem u'shmosehem. So he's saying that if you have an oaf with one siman tahara, you can eat it even if you're not a baki in what a paris and aznia will look like. Because you don't have to be worried that maybe this is a paris and aznia, because as we're going to explain later, so in other words, a Meimar is paskening, while in theory it's true that if you have a bird with one siman of tahara, you should know what a paris and aznia look like, because you have to make sure it's not a paris and aznia, but a Meimar says we're not worried. Why? Because paris and aznia really aren't found in places where people are settled, so you don't have to worry that when you find a bird, it might be a paris or aznia. But continues the Ameimar's psak, v'hani mili delo daris, ki mishkachinon bei siman echad, machzakinon le betahar kol kamadol chazinon le dedaris. Okay, so on its face, it's saying as long as it's not a daris. Why? Because as we said yesterday, the Mishnah states an absolute thing, that if it is a daris, it's non-kosher, right? So we're saying as long as you see an oaf with one siman of tahara, that you can assume that it is, that you don't have to assume that it's a paris or aznia because those aren't common. But all this applies only as long as you don't see it being a dores, because as soon as you see it being a dores, so then it's unkosher for a different reason. So, and continues Rashi, and this we'll see in a second, venerally, and it appears to me, Rashi says, Shekolof hanosin raglo ala ocho kashu ochlo umachziko berego shelo yonod v'lo yinatel kulo. I'm sorry. So he says that if you have any bird that puts its foot on the food when it's eating it, and he holds it with his foot so that it shouldn't shift. V'lo yinatel kulo. He doesn't take the entire thing. Basically, he's holding the food in its place, and he's taking his beak and eating from the food that's being held. This is Rashi's definition of dores. V'lo yinatel kulo etzel piv hu drisa. That's drisa, and here's important words. V'chein derech ha'orvim shegadlim bebatim shekorin kua. That this is the way of the orvim, the orev plural, that grow in houses. Okay, so what's going on here? So basically what we have is as follows. Amemar is saying that if you have a bird that is has one siman of tara, you don't need to know what a paris or aznia looks like, because it's very unlikely that you got a paris or aznia. But if it is something that but if it is something that that is dores, right? So then you're going to have to say you're going to have to say that is non-kosher. So one second. So if it's dores and it's a non-kosher, so then it only has one siman of tahara, right? And so we're back to saying, well, then what is it? If you're telling me a paris or aznia is not around, so then this is you're telling me it's non-kosher, but the only non-kosher bird with one siman of tahara is a paris or aznia, and you tell me they're not around. So the answer is that, I guess, if you know for sure it's a dores, you're stuck saying there must have been a paris or aznia that made its way here. But here's the important question, that if we're saying that it's a non-dores, because if it was a dores, we'd say it's non-kosher. So if it's a non-dores, and it also has a siman of tahara, then that itself is two simane tahara, right? So this is a problem, because then you're stuck with two simane tahara. So the Gemara is saying, so two things. So first of all, Rashi, that's why Rashi's saying that we're machzik it that it's tahar. So we're saying basically, we don't know what it is. We don't know that it's a dores, and it has one siman of tahara, so which would lead you to think it's a paris or aznia, but we say we don't have those, so therefore we can rely it's not. Now what if, since you're saying we don't know that it's a dores, maybe it's not a dores. If it's not a dores, then you're left, if it's actually not a dores, it might be an orev. You're left with two things, a dores and whichever the siman of tahara you're seeing. So to that's what Rashi's coming to address when Rashi says that an orev is a dores, because he's saying as follows, that if you're right that it's a non-dores, right? So he says if it's a dores and that it has different simane tahara than an orev, so it doesn't work. So basically what we're saying is the following: is that we're assuming that it's not a dores, but we don't know for certain. If we know for certain it's not a dores, then what are you concerned that you have two simane tahara, that A, it's not a dores, and B, that it has some other siman tahara? But if you're saying it has two simane tahara, what do you have to be concerned about? You have to be concerned that it's an orev. But says Rashi, you don't have to be concerned that it's an orev, because an orev is a dores, right? So we're back to saying it's not problematic. And that's why Rashi takes the time to explain to us that this is talking about an orev, and an orev is dores. So therefore, even if you're right that it has two simane tahara, that is not a dores, and it has the other siman tahara, it's still going to be kosher because it's not an orev. Now, mind you, it's only not an orev according to the Rabbanan, because the Rabbanan were the ones, Rabbi Eliezer was the one who said that even if the simanim don't match the orev. If it has 2 simanei tara, then it could be non-kosher like an orev. The Chachamim were the ones who said no, it has to be the same. That's why they didn't count a zarzir in there. So basically, what we're coming out is that it's not. We're going to say we assume it's not a dores, and it has 1 siman of tara. So the only thing you need to be worried about is a peres or aznia, and we say those aren't common. Now, even if it would turn out that it's not a dores and it has 1 other siman tara, which means you need to be concerned that it's a orev, but you don't have to be concerned that it's an orev, because an orev is for sure dores, and the second siman of tara that you're worried about is that it's not a dores. So therefore, that's the psak of Amemar. Okay, says the Gemara. Amalei Rashi la Amemar. Hadar of Nachman Mai. So basically, Amemar said, you don't have to be an expert in what is a peres or aznia. If you have a bird with 1 siman of tara, you don't need to know whether it's a peres or aznia. Why? So the question is, why aren't you worried about Rav Nachman? Rav Nachman said it's only tahar if you know what a peres or aznia looks like. So to that, Amalei Lashmieli, I don't hold of what Rav Nachman said. They have to be an expert in a peres or aznia. Why? Kolomar lo svirli. I don't agree with Rav Nachman. My ikka, what are you worried about? Misham peres or aznia? That you're worried that maybe you should have to know what a peres or aznia look like, because this might be a peres or aznia. L'snayu b'yishuv. They're not found in places where people are settled, and therefore we don't have to worry that this bird is a peres or aznia. Okay, Rav Yehuda says, Of hamisaret kasher l'taras mitzora. So basically, the process by a mitzora after he becomes tahar is that he needs to bring 2 kosher animals. The Torah says tahoros, right? That he needs to bring 2 kosher birds. And so what we're saying is as follows. Rabbi Yehuda is saying that this oaf hamasarit, this oaf that scratches or claws at something, is kosher for taharas mitzora. V'zuhi snunis levana shenechleku ba Rabbi Elazar v'chachamim. And this is the snunis levana, which we just talked about, that Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim argue about whether it's kosher or not. So the Rabbi Eliezer held that it's not kosher because it is in the category of an orev, and the Chachamim held it is kosher because they said it does not have the same simanim as an orev. So basically, what's happening here by Rabbi Yehuda saying that a snunis levana is kosher for the procedure of a metzora who's becoming tahar is another way of saying that it's a tahar bird, right? So therefore, he is paskening, Rabbi Yehuda is paskening like the Chachamim, right? Because the Chachamim were the one who said a snunis levana is kosher. Amar Amemar clarified this halacha of Yehuda. Bechivra karse kuli amalo pligi. If it has a white stomach, no one argues the shari that it's for sure mutter. Ki pligi b'diroka karse, when it has a yellow stomach. Rabbi Elazar aser rabbanan shari. Rabbi Elazar holds it's aser and rabbanan holds it's mutter. He's saying they're arguing about a yellow-bellied snunis. V'hochas like Rabbi Elazar. Now halach like Rabbi Elazar. So basically, by passing like Rabbi Elazar, you're saying that a snunis levana, which we're saying is a yellow stomached bird, is if it the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar, then it's aser. So basically, Amemar is coming and saying that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda, or that this is arguing on Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Yehuda said that this snunis levana is kosher for mitzora, which makes it a kosher bird, and Amemar is paskening like Rabbi Elazar, which makes it a non-kosher bird. So that's one version. Marzutra masni hachi. Marzutra learned a different version of what the machlok is. He says, Bidiroka karse kuli amalo pligi da aser. Where it has a yellow stomach, everyone agrees that it's aser. Ki pligi, when do they argue? But the chivra karse, where it has a white stomach. Rabbi Elazar aser, Rabbanan shari. That Rabbi Elazar, so we're saying a snunis levana, Rabbi Elazar aser and Rabbanan permitted, that's talking about a white stomached snunis. The hochazak Rabbanan, the halachazak Rabbanan. So according to that version, we're paskening that Rabbi Yehuda is also saying the halach is like the Rabbanan, because that's why Rabbi Yehuda is proving that it's a kosher bird that you can use in the Metzora proceedings. V'hochazak Rabbanan desharo. And it's like the Rabbanan that it's mutter. Okay, so this snunis levana that we learned about, the machlokas between Rabbi Elazar and the Chachamim, according to the first version, we paskin like Rabbi Elazar, which is saying, and therefore by extension, it's not the animal that, according to him, he held it's not the animal they use by Mitzora. According to the second version, he's paskening just like the Rabbanan, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda's halacha applies, or he would agree with Rabbi Yehuda's halacha that this could be used for the bird for the Mitzora. Now, ask the Gemara, Bishlam al-man amar b'chivrei karsei pligi hainu dekatani zuhis snun slovana. So if you're telling me that we're arguing about a white-stomached bird, so then it makes sense that you're calling it a snun slovana, because it's white. He says, El al-man amar b'diroka pligi, but when you're telling me that they're arguing about a yellow-stomached bird, my zuhi snun slovana. Well, how do you say that that's a snun slovana? It says white. So the Gemara says, La fuki debati de uchmati. So he says, relative to this one, the kind of bird, this kind of bird that's in houses, which is black, so relative to a black bird, a yellow-stomached bird, is a snunis levana. So it's just talking about the language. In other words, if you're saying we're arguing about a yellow-stomached bird, why are you calling it a white bird? He's saying a yellow-stomached bird relative to a black bird is considered like a white bird. Okay. Amar Rechava Amar Yehuda Tasil Pasol Mishum Torin V'Kasher Mishum B'nei Yonah. Okay, so we talked about this before on Daf Chaf Beis, where a tar, we say that we talked about it. If you remember, the Gemara was discussing that you have a tar and a ben Yonah. It always says ben by a Yonah. It doesn't say it by a tar. So we learned that a tar needs to be a older bird, and a ben Yonah needs to be a younger bird, right? So the halacha, what he's saying here is, Rav Yehuda is saying that a tasil is this kind of bird is pashul mishum torin, meaning you cannot bring it. In other words, it's not a tar. It's a ben Yonah. Ben Yonah is a pigeon. So therefore you have to bring it when it's young, right? Because it's in the category of a pigeon, not in the category of a tar. The atzifi v'torin sharachava ksherin mishum torin upsulun mishum b'nei Yonah. Conversely, you have these birds in atzifi or torin sharachava. You have a tar of the street or of the square. That these are kosher as torin. They're in the category of torin, and they're pasul mishum b'nei Yonah. You can't bring them when they're young because they're a tar. So basically, we're saying a pasil needs to be brought when it's young, and in a tzifi and a torin sharachava need to be brought when it's old. Why? Because a pasil is in the category of a pigeon. Masav Rav Daniel bar Rav Katina. Daniel bar Rav Katina asked from the following: Kola ofos. This is okay. So he says Kola ofos poslin mechatas chutz min ayona min pnei shemotzetzes. Okay. So what are we talking about here? So mechatas is obviously, as we've discussed many times, is the water that has the paraduma ashes in it that you would sprinkle on someone to be mataring him from tumas meis. So he's saying as follows, that if you have mechatas, now there's a different discussion in the Rishonim about exactly what the problem here is, but one of the problems with mechatas is it can't have been used for some kind of malacha. So the way Rashi learns is that if a bird were to drink from the mechatas, right, and benefit from that water, and then some of that water would go back into the water, it would be a problem because you can no longer use it as mechatas because that was malacha was done with it. Tosas asks, what kind of malacha is it just because someone drank from it? And then there's other versions, but let's just stick with Rashi. So he's saying that if you have, he says as follows, that if a bird, so he says that if a bird were to drink from mechatas, it would become puzzle, except for a Yonah, because a Yonah is unlike, so what's the problem with a regular bird? Is a bird goes and sticks its the lower part of its mouth into the water and pulls out, and some of the water drips back in, and so now you have water mixed in the mechatas that was used for malacha. But and by the way, this is actually nagea to a halachic question. Netilas yadayim also can't have been worked with. So people talk about, like, if you had a tarnagal or something drank from water, could you use it for netilas yadayim? Very practical every day. I'm sure you have this question. Okay, but in any event, so the idea is the mechatas becomes pasul from any bird other than a b'nei Yonah. Why? Because a ben Yonah is motzetzes. Motzetzes is like it sucks it up. It basically has a method of drinking that sucks it with force. It doesn't just fill its beak with water, it sucks it, and therefore none of it goes back in. So by a ben Yonah, that water is still valid to use for mechatas. Now the Gemara says, so you're telling me except for a ben Yonah, vim isa, and if you're telling me that you have this pasil is also like a ben Yonah, so then listen chutz mi Yonah v'tasil. I'm sorry, tasil, not pasil. He says he's saying if a tasil You just said it's like a pigeon in as much as you need to bring it when it's young. But if you're saying I have a bird that's just like a pigeon, then when the Mishnah tells you mechatas is pasul if it gets drunk by any bird other than one that's motzetzes, then obviously if this thing is going to be like a pigeon, it's also going to be motzetzes, and therefore it should have said that any bird who drinks from it, it's pasul, except for a yona or a tasil. But it didn't say that, so it must be that a tasil is not like a pigeon. So says the Gemara, Amar Zera, zem moted to meki, v'zem moted zeno meki. He says, no, you're right, that a tasil is like a ben yona, and in fact, just like a ben yona, it sucks, but it's not as good of a sucker as a ben yona. So ben yona sucks up the water and doesn't drop any, but this bird drops some back. So therefore, even though it drinks differently than a regular bird, it still has the same problem that some of the water are going to go back into the mechatas and therefore make it pasul. I'm Rabbi Yehuda. Hani kufshini tzutzaina kesherim. So this is kufshini is a word for a tar. So these tar of tzutzaina are kosher legabim mizbeach, shem legabim mizbeach. So it's saying we know that on the mizbeach you bring a tar and a ben yona. So he's saying these kind of torim that are tzutzaini are kosher legabim mizbeach. Ve'hein hein torin shorachava. This is the same as the torin shorachava, which on Amud Aleph we learned that atzifi and torin shorachava are kosher. So basically, it's telling you that these torim of tzutzaini are considered valid torim and they're kosher for the mizbeach. So Meisvei, I'll ask you a question. The Gemara says, the Mishnah says Azov. So this is so this is I think a Mishnah in the Goyim. It says Azov. That when the Torah references Azov, which is in a number of contexts, we have it in by the Mitzorah, you have it by Mechatas, you have it by the Sreifas Paraduma, you have plenty of times where it says Azov. So it says, the Mishnah tells you that when it says you need Azov, it's Azov Yon, or some learn Azov Yavon, that it's Azov Yon is some kind of Azov that grows amongst the thorns. V'lo Azov Kochli, or a blue Azov, v'lo Azov Romi, not Roman Azov, v'lo Midbari, not desert Azov, v'lo Kol Azov sheyosh Shem Levai, and not any Azov that has an accompanying name. So in other words, so what's it telling you? It's telling you that when the Torah says something plain like Azov, so it does not include Azov Romi, Azov Midbar, because if the Torah, the Torah was specific and saying plain Azov, right? So the question that we're asking is as follows: that if you have these Torim that are called Torim Tzutzaini, so then when the Torah tells you can bring a tar to the Beis HaMikdash as a carbon, a tar Tzutzaini should be excluded because that's a Shem Levi. Just like a specific type of Azov, the Torah says Azov means plain, so when it says tar, it means plain. It doesn't mean a tar Tzutzaini. Amar Abaya, not exactly, because Kosher Nishana Shmo Kodaman Torah Vekpida Torah Lov Yeshlo Shem Levi Pasul. He says Azov had other names, like even before Matan Torah. There was such a thing as an Azov. It doesn't mean all of them, because I don't know if Rome was around then or whatever, but in other words, Azov Midbar, for example, there existed specific names of Azov at the time the Torah was given. So let's say Azov Midbar, right? So the fact that the Torah chose to say Azov plain, when it could have included Azov Midbar, is to tell you that it only wants Azov plain. V'hani lo nishtanu shman kodaman Torah. But when we're talking about the Torah Tzutzaini, that was just the name of a place. So therefore, there was no such thing as a Torah something at the time Matan Torah. So therefore, the fact that the Torah said Torah plain can't be coming to tell you not a Torah Tzutzaini, because the Torah Tzutzaini didn't exist. Versus there were other types of Azov, and the Torah chose to say Azov plain. That tells you only an Azov plain. Okay. Rava says, Hani kufshini tzutzaini basrayu stama karilu. Rava had a different answer. He says that why aren't you worried that these kufshini tzutzaini are a Shem Levi? It's an accompanying name. So just like Azov Midbar, Azov Romi is not good, so to a kufshini tzutzaini should be no good. He says the reason that's okay is because let's say an Azov Romi, even in Rome, it's called Azov Romi. Versus Tzutzaini, he says in Tzutzain, or whatever the singular thing of Tzutzaini is, that they used to just call it, they would just call it Kufshini, they would just call it a Tor. So if something is always referred to as a Tor Romi, even in Rome, so then it has a Shem Levi and it's no good, because the Torah wants only Azov. But if it's something that that in its own place is called regular tor, it's not called a tor tzutzaini, shows you that people refer to it as a tor tzutzaini because it comes from there. But in tzutzaini, or whatever it's called in itself, they don't call it that, so then it's not a full Shem Levi. It's not a real accompanying name. It's a name of convenience, or it's a name attached to a location. But Rava is saying that's not a Shem Levi. So the difference is the first one's going to say that by a tor, unlike an Azov, which had Shem Levi, and the Torah chose to have a plain Azov, but Tor, there were no specific Tors, so therefore it could include even ones with a Shem Levi. So according to the first answer, Shem Levi by a Tor is okay. According to the second answer, it's saying no, a Tor is just like an Azov. If it has a Shem Levi, then if it has an accompanying name, then it's not valid. But why were this Tor Tzutzaini was valid is because it wasn't a real Shem Levi, as demonstrated by the fact that in the place itself they didn't refer to it. They just called it a plain Tor. So therefore, it's not a sufficient Shem Levi to say that it's no good for the for use in the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Hani Krazi de Bechilfi Sharu. That these krazi, which are some kind of chagavin, Rashi says, like a grasshopper, the bechilfi, that chilfi is like a sedge or rush, or it's like some grass that grows in the marshes. That these grasshoppers shari udbe karvi asiri, but the ones that come from that grow up in kruv and cabbage, those are aser. So in other words, there's two different types of chagavim. Ravina says umalkinon alai mishum sheretz ha'of. He's saying that when we say that the ones from cabbage are aser, we would give you malchus on that for eating a flying bug. So what's it coming to tell you? It's not like it's some doubtful case of maybe it is maybe we're saying it's aser because it might be a sheretz ha'of. We're saying no. Ravina says it's an absolute sheretz ha'of if it's the cabbage kind of grasshopper, and therefore if someone were to eat it, they would get malchus for being over on a los asay. Okay, V'am Rav Yehuda Tzarda Shari Barda Asir. You have two things with similar sounding names. So Tzarda is you're allowed to eat it, and Barda you're not allowed to eat it. The simanech and the simon, to remind yourself, we're going to have a series of gemaras like this. Bar mineh, except for this one. So bar mineh sounds like barda. So and it's saying bar mineh except for this one. So this reminds you, barda is no good. Bar mineh, sarda is good. Okay, marda safka. So we say, but if it's marda, then it's a suffix. So tsarda is good, barda is no good, and marda we don't know. Okay. There's 8 sveikos. Chova, chuga, suga, v'harnuga, tushalmi, marda, kochilna, ubar nafcha. I'm sure I did not get the pronunciation right, but 8 of those. So my safikayu, what's the suffix about these 8? We're back to birds. We've left grasshoppers. What's the suffix about them? He says as follows. Ofos tahorim korkovanan niklaf v'tumein. I'm sorry. Ofos tahorim korkovanan niklaf v'tumein ain't korkovan niklaf. So he's saying, generally speaking, we know that having a korkovan that can be peeled is a siman tara, and one that cannot be peeled is a siman of tuma. And so, if we were looking at whether this, okay, so the way we're understanding this is if it has the other 3 simane tara. So then, if its korkovan can be peeled, you know for sure it's a tahar bird, versus if it can't be peeled, then it could theoretically be a tameh bird. So the question is as follows. We know that a korkovan being able to be peeled is a siman tara, not being able to be peeled is a siman of tuma. He says, but these, v'hani korkovanan niklaf besakina. These 8 birds, you cannot peel them with your hand, so it doesn't come off easily, but you can peel it with a knife. And it will come off, and it won't pull with it the rest of the korkovan. So the question is that considered a siman of tahara because ultimately it can be removed with a knife, or do we say no, it's a siman tuma because at the end of the day you can't remove it by hand, you need to use an implement in order to remove it. So those are a suffix, and therefore they're going to be in the category of suffix, a suffix of a siman tuma. So now the Gemara asks, "V'ha hi baravaza dahave be mar Shmuel delo have kamaklev korkovanei." So that Mar Shmuel had a goose that they couldn't peel the crop easily. V'osvei b'shimsha, and they took the crop and they put it. I'm sorry, there's not a crop. A korkovan is the gizzard. V'osvei b'shimsha, and they put it in the sun. The kivan the rafi, once it got soft, iklif, they were able to peel it. So you see that even something that doesn't peel easily, that if you can get it peeled at some level by putting it in the sun and then doing it, it should be good. So the Gemara says no. Hasam ki rafi iklif biyada. Hacha afagav the rafi lo miklif el b'sakina. He says no. I agree with you that by Marshmuel, if you can put it in the sun and then peel it with your hand, that's a siman tara. But by these 8, even if you were to put it in the sun, you still need a knife. So the question is, you cannot bring about a circumstance where you can remove it with your hands. You can only remove it with a knife, and therefore it's a suffix whether it is a valid siman tahara. Amar Abaya, Tarnagola da'agma chad mishmona sveikasu, that a tarnagol of the swamp is one of the 8 things listed as a suffix. Now, mind you, we didn't say tarnagola da'agma. He says v'hainu mardu. One of the 8 we said was mardu. He says this mardu is another word for the tarnagola da'agma, the tarnagol of the swamp. Amre Papa, tarnagola da'agma asira, that the tarnagola da'agma is aser. Tarnagolta da'agma is sharia. So that a female version, a tarnagolta of the agma is mutter. So now this is a big discussion in the Rishonim. Doesn't mean that the male and female versions of these are different. One is kosher and one is not. Or are these 2 different things? That the tarnagola, the agma, is one species, and tarnagolta, the agma, is another. One is referred to in the masculine, one is referred to in the feminine, but they're really two separate species or subspecies. So most Rishonim seem to see that they're separate. Tosfos brings a version that maybe it's just the difference of male and female. There's a very interesting Meshech Chochmah, the pasuk by Noach. It says that he brought the bird 7/7 in order lahachiyas kol zera, right? So, but it doesn't say in the pasuk, and Rashi explains that this was talking about ofos tahoros. So the question they ask is, why didn't the Torah say ofos tahoros? In other words, why didn't it need to say it, and you need the Mefarshim to explain it? So the Meshech Chochmah says because the point was lahachiyas kol zera, so you wanted all kosher things to live. But the problem is this particular bird, the male was not kosher, the female was kosher. Right? So if you say you only bring kosher animals, so then you're going to lose the female of this kind of bird. But so therefore they had to bring them all. But then you didn't want to say that they brought all the ofos tahoros because he brought even an of non-tar. So the Meshech Chochmah says the reason for the language in that pasuk is this particular type of bird. But in any event, the simanech. So what are we saying? We're saying that the male type of this thing is no good and the female type is good. V'simanech, and the siman is amoni v'lo amonis. So if you remember that this was the halacha, we said amoni moavi lo yava b'kal Hashem, and we saw by Rus that amoni v'lo amonis, that the amoni can come in, not the amonis. Rashi explains because it says al dvar shel kidmo eschem belechem u'mayim, that they didn't bring you the food. Who would bring food? Men, so it was a time on the men, it wasn't time on the women. But in any event, what's the point? We're familiar with this halach of amoni v'lo amonis. So he's saying that's a good memory tool to tell you that the male-sounding tarnagola da'agma is aser. The tarnagolta, the female da'agma, is mutter, just like an amonis is mutter and an amoni is not mutter. Darish Meremar, tarnagolta da'agma asira. The tarnagolta of the agam is aser. Why? Because chazua the darsa va'achla, because they saw that it actually was dores and it ate v'hainu gerusa, and this was so it showed you that what people thought. So first we said that a tarnagolta, the agma, the female, is a kosher bird, but then we saw that it was dores, and we know that dores is an absolute proof of of Tameh. So they said, therefore it's Tameh. And they said, really, it was a Gerusa, which is a different kind of bird that we know is Tameh. Says Rashi, that Rashi says that this fact is the reason why, if we don't have a Masorah on a bird, you can't eat the bird. Because what did you see? You see that everyone thought this bird was a kosher bird, and then it turned out that it was Dores. So, Memela, unless you have a Masorah on a bird, you can't eat it, because maybe it's, even if we haven't seen it be Dores, maybe it's going to be Dores. Okay, Amar Rav said, Amarav Shavar and Darafta Shari. I'm sorry, Shvar and Darafta Shari, Peruz and Darafta Aser. So you have these two similar sounding things. One is mutter, one is aser. V'simanech, and the simon is Peruz Rishia. That the one that's called Peruz and Darafta is the one that's aser. Now, why is that helpful? Because Rashi explains that Peruz Rishia, that there was a Shem Adam Shahaya Muchzik Rasha Beineim. There was a bad guy in Talmudic times named Piruz, so therefore it reminds you that Piruz and Darafta is aser, whereas Shavar and Darafta is mutter. Amrav Huna Bunya Shari Parva Asir. That Bunya is mutter bird and Parva is aser. V'simanech Parva Amgusha. So we say that Parva so he says that Parva is like an Amgusha. So he says that Parva was a Mechashef. He was a sorcerer, and he was the one who made the Lishkas-based Parva. Lishkas-based Parva was where they used to process the hides. And if you remember, the roof of base Parva had a mikvah in it. That's what the Kohen Gadol, we talk about it in the Avodah. The Kohen Gadol used to go do his tefillah by base Parva on top of this thing. But in any event, you see that Parva was at least originally, because they said the tshuva, that he was a bad guy. So therefore, it tells you that Parva is the bird that's aser, while Bunya is the one that's mutter. Amrav Papa, Mardu Zagid va'achil shari, that a mardu that stands up and eats, that's its name, that's mutter. Sagid va'achil aser, that the one that bends down and eats, that mardu is aser. V'simanech, what's your simon to remind you that the one that bows down is bad? Lo sishtach v'le'el acher. You shouldn't bow down to a different god. That's bad god. So you see that of this mardu, the one that bows down is the bad one. Amar Shmuel, Shasya Chamra Asira, the one who drinks wine is aser, meaning this was a bird called the one who drinks wine. V'simanech, what's your simon? Shesiyayim psulun lavoda, that the one who drinks wine is talking about a kohen, is pasul lavoda. So it reminds you that the wine drinking bird is no good. Amar Shmuel, Mazga Chamra Asira, the one who pours wine, that's what they call this bird, is aser. Bas mazgo chamer sharia. But the daughter of the one who pours wine is mutter. Okay, so these to remember, we had this recently. This is that the power of the son is greater than the power of the father. Where does this come up? Where a son is Yoresh's father, where the son can collect in certain instances without a shvuah, whereas his father could only collect with a shvuah. So what do you see? You see the son is stronger than the father. So therefore, it's reminding you that the one who pours wine, that bird is aser. But the daughter of the one who pours wine, that bird is mutter, just like a son has more power than the father. Rav Yehuda says, Shakitna aricha shaki vesumki sharye. He says, you have this bird, a shakitna. He says, if it has long legs and it's red, then it's mutter. V'simanech murzima, which was evidently, Rashi says, a bird that people knew was tahar, and it also had long legs and red body. Gutzi v'sumki asiri. But if it has short legs and it's red, then it's aser. V'simanech, what's the simon to remind you that a short-legged bird is aser? Nanos pasul, because a nanos is a midget. A kohen who's a midget is not allowed to do the avodah. So you see that the one with short legs is pasul. Arichi shaki v'yeroki asiri, that if it has long legs and it's yarok, it's yellow, that's aser. So v'simanech, to remember that yerukim psulin. We had this in the Mishnah a little while ago, that it said that if you had a bird that got burnt from the outside and you look inside and it has yellow or green on by the Bnei Ma'ayim, we said that that's pasul. So this reminds you that yarok is pasul, that tells you that this particular bird that is green or yellow is an aser bird.